Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another live stream coaching session here on the internet, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and whatever that thing Twitter is called today. So, super delighted to bring to you another live stream coaching session. Before I begin and introduce my friend that I am coaching today, I want to let you know that these coaching sessions that I am doing are absolutely my gift to my community. These are no strings attached coaching sessions. There's no expectation, no obligation that anybody that joins me here will ever become a paid client. And if you are out there and you've been following my content and you would like to volunteer to be coached live, streaming on the internet with no strings attached, no expectation, no obligation that you'll ever become a paid client, all you need to do is email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Put live stream coaching in the email subject line, and we will get you scheduled as long as I've got some openings. And that's exactly what my guest today did. Hillard Fugate, he reached out to me via email, and we are now here having this coaching session. And Hillard, I want to welcome you to the live stream, and I would love to ask you real quickly, what is it that you and I could talk about today that would make this some powerful conversation you'll never forget for the rest of your life?
Well, that's great. And I appreciate you letting me come on your live stream. I've been thinking a lot about it, but when I first heard you during the pandemic, and I heard your name around a long time, and then I heard you during the pandemic, really coaching someone or going through a podcast that you had, and where you took all their information, their hopes, their dreams, their talents, and their fears, and somehow you arranged it in a way that opened up options for them and opened up a new mindset for them where they didn't feel so stuck. And that's sort of where I am. So when I felt like I was getting really stuck a few months back, I said, I remember this guy, Cliff. Let me go see what he's got going on. So I started following your podcast again. And I think that was the greatest thing, that when I heard you during the pandemic, it's like how you just took this, all these ingredients, and turned out with a great meal with it for these people. And that's why I decided to reach out to you.
Excellent. Well, tell me a little bit where you are today. Describe what you've been up to and what it is that you're looking to achieve.
I'm in a small town out of Houston, Texas, and I'm in industrial sales. I work with the refineries, the petrochemical manufacturing, and been in sales for a long time. I really like it. When I was younger, everyone said, you got to work with your hands. You can't make no money unless you work with your hands. Even as a young guy, I knew that wasn't my gig. And sort of whether by default or by design, I've been in sales for a long time. I really enjoy it. But again, like I said, the reason I reached out today is I just feel like I got stuck, even though, in my honest opinion of me, of course, is I feel like I'm a better salesman. I think I prospect better. I think I ask better questions. And I think I know how to target better. And somehow it just doesn't seem to, even though I put those pieces together, they haven't locked in. And I'm actually very, very surprised at that.
What do you mean that they haven't locked in? Because it sounds to me like you've had some pretty incredible sales experience. It sounds to me like you've developed your own unique style and approach to sales. I've read some of your accomplishments that you've sent in the pre-coaching session questionnaire, taking $400,000 to $1.2 million with one company, saving
Mm-hmm.
$1 million project from walking out the door,
Mm-hmm.
some other incredibly powerful things. So what is it that's not clicking?
The results part of it. Now, I went to it's a new company, but it's not a new industry. I still, luckily for me, most of my sales careers, I have been, maybe a different company, but I've always got to stay in the same industry, always, dealing with the petrochemical manufacturers and the plants. So, I may, tell my buddy like, hey, I'm with a ABC company now. And he goes, oh, that's cool. We'll get you approved, because I've known him for 10 years. So that part's been really, really good. And to speak to the point you just asked is, I feel like I've done all those things I'm doing in the past, actually at a better level and a more intentional level. And it's just not seeing the fruits.
Because it's in a new industry, do you think? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, that could be part of it. Yeah. What we do now is we do plant services and refinery services, where in the past it's mostly products. So in a service deal in the plant and refinery, sometimes you have a longer turn cycle for projects, where in the past, even though I was say dealing with a big oil and gas company, it'd be more products. So, hey, ship these 4 pallets today, ship these 8 pallets tomorrow. Where this is a timeline like, hey, we'll be doing this in the fall. Hey, we'll be doing this next in 2024. And so the funnel cycle is a lot longer. And I don't know if that feeds into my perception why maybe it's not successful, or this is just part of this industry where laying the bricks is a little slower, but you're still laying the bricks, if that makes sense.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. I'm trying to get into your world as you're describing this. So let me explain to you what I heard and tell me if some of this landed. What I'm hearing is that you're still within the gas, oil, and chemical industry. So
Exactly.
it's not a brand new industry, but what you've been involved in all these years past, you may have moved from one company to another company to another company, but in all of those scenarios, you were in a sales position where it's pretty much, hey, let me make this deal happen, and we're talking about like right now in the moment. When I make a call today, I'm seeing results. For example, it's like I made a call to this people, and within 30 days, I see instant results from that call that I just made a couple of weeks ago. And
Exactly.
that was your experience in sales. And now you're still in the same industry, new company, but you're doing something where the funnel of what you're doing today is not necessarily generating any results today or within the next 2 or 3 weeks. It's more along the lines of 3 or 4 months now, or it may be in the third quarter of next year. And so
Yes.
as a result of that, your perception of success is what I do today, I should see results. There's a history of that. That's not actually how things are working out in your current situation. And because it seems like the results of what you do today are so far into the future, I'm hearing that maybe there might not be an issue with results, but there's a perception that the results are not there. That's what I'm hearing. As I say that back to you, what comes up?
I think that's probably 100% accurate, because like like you just laid out before, in the past, if I went to lunch with someone by 2:30 or 3, like, hey man, we're gonna go ahead and give you that order. Here's the PO. And with this particular position is, we can talk about something for 2 or 3 weeks, and I was like, we're not going to budget that. We're going to do that next quarter, or 2024 second quarter. And I'm like, like, what do you mean? I put so much time and effort in all of these. I do for all my customers, but you just heard, I guess you have a certain timeline of expectation how things should work, or you're used to them to working, and that sort of has set that's already have me sort of scored in that way.
Yeah. So let me ask you in that scenario, because you just gave me a hypothetical. So in the past, I'd go out to lunch with somebody and we'd discuss something. It's like, yep, done deal. Here's the PO. Boom, off to the races. But right now, you're in a position where the kind of things that you're selling are not products like they were before. They were kind of like did you say services that people were going to sign up for and your company's going to do for them? And so those are decisions people typically say, okay, yes, I'd like that. I'll be ready for that. Let's say February of next year. We're in September of this year. And so as a result of that, my question in that scenario, because you said you have carried over all of your sales skills, techniques, you're still 100% matter of fact, you say you're showing up with more intention today. You're showing
Mhm.
up with everything you've ever brought to the table. So you're not any less skilled as a salesperson as you ever were before. You're you have everything that you've had up to this point, and you're bringing all that to the table, and you're still showing up growing in your ability to be effective in this industry, meaning that you're a more powerful salesperson today than you have been in the past. So my question is, so you're having a conversation at lunch today, and you're talking about this service that you want this other person to purchase from your company, and they say, you know what, this isn't something that we're going to be able to do today, but yeah, I think, are they saying yes but yeah, it's going to be the first quarter, second quarter of next year. Are you still getting yeses? Is my
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. I still get yeses. Just for an example, met with some people a few weeks ago for lunch and like, oh yeah, we need this done. We got to get a team in here to do this. And then we go down, do a great presentation. And I mean, we're standing by the whiteboard, we're drawing up plans. It's great, great. Then all of a sudden it just goes deathly quiet. So I followed up with the contact, and it was like a 7-to-1 return factor. I mean, I would call, and I didn't want to be a nuisance, but I want to be professionally persistent, And so I finally got to say, hey, man, if we offended you or anything happened, just, I apologize. He goes, no, no, no. He goes, what you guys do is important, but right now what I have to handle is the urgent. And I said, okay, I totally get that, because that sounds like he's pulling that from I read that same book, Stephen Covey. He goes, what we want you to do is very important down here, but right now we got crying babies and ringing phones. And I do understand that happens in our industry all the time. I mean, Tuesday doesn't always look like Monday, and I get that. So that part, I mean, I was cool with. So
Okay. So my question is, are you in a position now where you're able to go from that conversation and feel confident that, oh, I've done an incredibly powerful job here? And are you getting some sort of agreement that, yes, there is a time frame? Here's what that time frame is. It might be in a couple of months. It might be in the second quarter of 2024. But are you getting some sort of agreement that, yes, the seed planted today, and in your mind, do you have a very high level of confidence? Let's just say on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that these are going to actually turn into a harvest down the road?
I'd say a minimum of 8. I'm very optimistic. I mean, I approach everything with optimism. I mean, it's almost like when a friend of mine asked me, when I call on a new customer, I get a sale. He goes, when did you think you was going to get that sale? I go, when he answered the phone. I said, because if he was totally happy, there's no need to take my call. So
Right.
there's either a gap in his service, his pricing, or his communication. So if he agrees to see me, I got a chance. So
Yeah. And coming from a sales background myself, I know just based upon what I've read in your questionnaire, our dialogue so far, you and I know most of the sale is done based upon the level of confidence that you have in your ability to provide value to that person and communicate it to them. And it sounds to me like you're doing your due diligence to make sure that the prospects that you're reaching out to have the problem that your company solves, and that you're a good fit for the solution to that problem. And given the fact that you're giving me an 8 out of 10 tells me that, you're pretty much spot on. There's going to be a harvest down the road in a overwhelming majority of these cases where you're planting these seeds, where the harvest might be 3 months to a year down the road. Yes.
yes, that's 100% true. But as a guy or as an employee, I know I'm paid for results. I know I'm paid to move the needle. And that gets in your head after a while. Like, hey,
It gets in whose head?
it gets in my head.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you
Like,
said it got into my head.
no, 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 no. And nobody hires you because you're your buddies.
Nobody hires who?
They don't hire people to be their friends. They
Okay.
hire people to move the needle, to make an impact, to get visibility.
So do me a favor. So go back and say that whole statement instead. Nobody hires me to, because I want to hear you keep all of these thoughts, these beliefs that you're spouting out as
Mhm.
personalized. So nobody hires me. Go ahead and
Yeah,
restate it that way.
no one hires me to be their buddy. They hire me to move the needle, to give them visibility, to make an impact, to make them visible in the industry.
Okay. So nobody hires me to be their buddy. I agree with you. I mean, people shouldn't have to pay for their friends. So and I agree that they probably did hire you because they want some results. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have an employee on payroll without getting some sort of ROI, return on investments. You say what they hire me for is to, and what did you say? Do you remember?
Yeah, move the needle,
Move the needle. And what else?
and to gain visibility in the industry.
Okay, so we're going to put this down. Move the needle and to gain visibility and to get results. Those are the
Exactly.
3 reasons why you said this company hired you. Yes?
Yep.
Okay. So It sounds to me like you're having these conversations like you did at lunch the other day. And you talked about another scenario where you gave a presentation in front of the whiteboard and then it went silent. And then you got on a call and said, "Hey man, no, it's not that. We definitely need you. It's just that I have to take care of these." And you have this idea in the conversation. It seems like there's some sort of verbal agreement that yes, we do have this need. Yes, it must be solved. There's things that are higher priority right now. We are going to solve this, it has to be solved by this date. And when we choose to invest and go in this direction to solve this problem, you are the person we want to hire to do it. That's what's happening. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Are you moving the needle? Is that what you just described? Is that moving the needle?
Yes.
Okay. Are you gaining visibility that was not there before?
Yes.
All right. And given the fact that you're 8 out of 10 certain that this is going to land into a sale when it's the appropriate time for that company, is that going to get your company results?
Yes. So I think you just opened up my brain to something. I think I only judge it when I see the PO. Nothing happens till you get the PO.
Yeah, I'm going to share something that may radically alter your brain chemistry forever from this day forward.
I like it.
Never judge the success of your day by the harvest you reap.
Okay.
But instead by the seeds that you plant.
Yeah, that hits home. That's good. It reminds me, and I know you talk a lot about faith with people. This scripture that having done all to stand, you got to stand. When you've done all you can do, Paul plant, somebody waters, God gives the increase. But
Yeah.
that waiting is.
That waiting is what?
It's very difficult because to go back into the past, I had such a large book of business. It was always percolating on its own accord. And I got to really pick the projects and pick the customers I wanted to add to that portfolio in a sense, because it was so vibrant and so healthy that, if I took a 2-week vacation, I didn't worry about nothing. I didn't worry about nothing because everything it was a well-oiled machine. I had great relationships for years with all the players. So, and this is almost like breaking ground, new ground, or it's still the same people. It's just a different service. And there's not a level of being comfortable. It's always going around being uncomfortable.
So the being uncomfortable, what causes that?
Not knowing, the not knowing, because I know what I'm doing. I know the seeds I'm planting, but you got to hope others see or others perceive it the way you
Who
do.
has to hope? Who has to hope that?
Your employer. You hope the employer sees.
Whose employer?
My employer.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I got you. I see what you're doing. Okay.
I always want you to feel the weight of beliefs that you express.
Okay.
And so when you're expressing a belief to me, see, a lot of times what we'll do, do you see how I'm already saying? A lot of times what I will do when I want to not feel the weight of the limiting beliefs that I have about life, I will, instead of saying them in my personalized language, like, one of the things that I feel is this: if I want to remove some of the weight of the limiting beliefs that are on my shoulders, I'll say, one of the things that you'll do when you are speaking to somebody about your beliefs is you will do this. And so you notice how I'm saying you, because that it's like, it's not me. Or I might say, one of the things that we will do, and so just think about every time you are out there saying this, imagine saying and I would encourage you to say I, especially in our conversation, because I want you to feel the weight of what your beliefs are about your situation, not my situation, not our situation, the average person's situation in this case. I want to hear only about your belief about what you're currently facing.
And I can see where that does put more weight. When I say they, it's like, instead of me carrying 50 pounds, I only got to carry 20 pounds of it.
Yeah.
But if I say like it's my whole 50. I
Yeah.
got you. Yeah.
And the thing is it is all yours, and it's all. So for example, one of the things that I just asked you just a moment ago, what causes this discomfort that you're feeling? And you said, what do you remember what you said?
Yeah. You
It's
want
the
people. Go
it's
ahead.
the unknowing.
The unknowing. Yes.
And then go ahead and finish that next statement.
Because I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. You want others to know, like, hey,
No.
this is the real. No, no,
Y- I know what I'm doing.
yeah,
I just want others.
I got you. Okay,
Do you see how it's like, I know what I'm doing. You just want this. No, I know what I'm doing. And what's really causing the discomfort is I want people to know that I know what I'm doing.
yeah, yeah. I got it halfway right on the. You changed my. I think you use that term transformative speech. So I got it halfway right. Now this I see what you're saying. You
Yes.
got to keep it in that lane to feel the weight.
Yeah. And watch how this changes. So let me ask, I'm going to ask you, I may ask you this question 3 or 4 more times. We'll see. It'll be
That's fine.
fun. Let me ask you this. What causes the discomfort in your current position?
Well, it's a lot of pressure I put on myself. When I went there, I wanted to be the best hire they've ever made. I wanted to move the needle more than they've ever. I wanted the owner of this company to experience stuff he's never experienced with any other salesperson. And I
That's
and I
awesome.
believe and I believe with my contacts and my skills that I could absolutely let him enjoy the company of his dream. And that was my goal. Is like I want to be the best hire they've ever had.
Excellent. And so what is causing this discomfort?
Going back to planting the seeds and not seeing the results, I would like to see in the time that I'm sort of used to seeing them. I mean, in the even with the same industry, same customers. Like I said before, I could go to lunch at 1:30 or 2, and have a PO the next morning when I come in my email, and and I do know this is a little different in the framework of planning, clearing scopes, making sure one project is finished at a refinery or plant before they have the footprint to allow you in to do other work.
I love it. So let me tell you what I just heard right there. So the question is, what causes the discomfort? And what I just heard in that last statement was, I came into this position with an expectation of immediate sales because that's what I've always had. And I wanted to be hired and seen as the best sales decision or hire that they've ever had, help them see results they've never had before. And my picture and perception of success in sales is that I get immediate POs immediately upon conversation. But what I now recognize as I'm having this conversation is that I'm in a completely different ballgame. This isn't a product where people give me a PO and they purchase immediately. We're talking about clearing the deck and opening up space, finishing a project so they can begin the project of taking full value of this incredible gift of a solution of a problem that they have, that they definitely see me as the solution to that in my company. And the fact is that many times this is going to be several weeks, maybe months, and maybe even as far off into the next year before they say yes and I see the purchase. And what's causing me the discomfort is the fact that I have an expectation that when I start a conversation with somebody about the sales process and about buying, my expectation is that they say yes, and there's something on the books in accounting that says this is on accounts receivable. This is the harvest that's just brought in, and that is not there. And because that's not there, and I have an expectation of it to be there, I feel discomfort because from the time of my conversation until there's actually money coming into the company, or at least a contract that says money's coming to the company, the longer that period of time, the more discomfort I feel. That's what I just heard. Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
So I'm going to ask you, or I'm going to share with you my perception of what's causing the discomfort.
I'm
So the
ready.
discomfort is not the fact that it is not coming from the fact that you have an expectation, or I'm sorry, the fact that you have a sales call today and you are going to potentially see this realization or the harvest, money coming in, contract on the books, boss can see the results of your effort um, 3 months, 6 months down the road. But instead, what is causing that discomfort is the gap in your expectation and what's actually going on in the scenario where you work. So, and I think that is exactly what you said. But here's what it's called: the formula of happiness. So, have you heard me talk about the formula of happiness? I picked this up from Tony Robbins.
No, sir.
So, the formula of happiness is LC equals what did he call? He calls it BP. That's what he calls it. LC equals BP. So LC equals life conditions, and then BP he calls blueprint. Or a couple of other ways of thinking about BP or blueprint is your model of the world or the way you believe things ought to be based
Mm,
upon your experiences, your beliefs, your values. This is how I see the world. So you came into this sales position with a sales blueprint, and your sales blueprint is I show up, I invest in learning everything I need to know about this company, making sure that they're a good product to a product fit. I make sure that they have this problem. I know that we've got the solution. I do all the due diligence to set up the appointment. I get in there. I use my incredible skill and talent and ability. I have a persuasive conversation. I get them excited. And my blueprint is right there. I walk back into my office with a PO, and my boss sees that money's coming in. That's my blueprint. And so you came into
right.
this position where your life conditions of this particular type of sales does not equal your blueprint. So LC is not equaling your BP. Therefore, you have unhappiness, or you labeled it as discomfort.
That's very good.
Yeah. So
So,
there are two things you could change.
okay.
All right. You could change your or the life circumstances, or you could change your blueprint. Actually, or you could do a combination of both. So it's, I don't know. Is it possible? Let's just think. Is it possible that you could find clients and filter for prospects that are in instant need right now, so that sales will come in within days or weeks of you? Yeah, within days or weeks of you going out and making the sales call? Is that a possibility?
Unlikely, because that would have to be like an emergency situation, and more than likely, if we're not on the books as an approved vendor, that would cause the emergency section. It would have to go to an approved vendor because they're already in the system, and to get them inside the facilities. So that's why the long game is what I have to play
Uh,
here. Is
so
when the emergency does come up, I'm available already on the. Gotcha.
I love this. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think the guy who hired you knows that about your business?
Yes. Yeah. And because the feedback actually I get from him, they're very, very pleased. When we talk about relationships, he'll tell me that we have never had anyone that have so many contacts. You're both wide and deep with your contacts, but I still don't feel good about it. And they're happy. They're happy.
There you go. So here's why they're happy. Your life circumstances that you're currently experience is equal to their blueprint.
That makes sense. So to them, this is normal. To me, it's crazy.
That is exactly it. And this is why they're happy, but you're uncomfortable. You're dissatisfied.
Yeah. Well, and that is, yeah, that's true, because I was having a conversation a few months back And I said, well, I know you know these people. You talk to them much more than I do, because this client was actually on board before I showed there. And he was very nice. He goes, yeah, we don't talk to him like you do. He goes, we don't get to him like you do. And I thought, okay, well, that's good. I was giving them the credit because that client was technically on board before I showed up. And it was more of a surface. And what I try to do, like I just mentioned, I try to go deep and wide in every organization, because people are fluid, people move, people retire. So I don't want to just have a one connection opportunity with a place.
Yeah. So it sounds to me like what's going on is that you're getting in there and you are exhibiting a way of doing your position in a way that nobody else in your position has ever done for this company before.
That's what it sounds like. Which is actually one of the things I wrote down, is that's what I want to be, one of the best hires I've ever had. But I never put that together until you just bridged that. So
Yeah.
maybe it is working out.
Maybe it is. And what if I told you that it could be absolutely possible for you to feel incredibly good, if not absolutely great, about the success that you are having in your position in the in this company, and that you could actually feel wonderful and no discomfort, no lack of comfort? Because I think what was the I think you said it causes discomfort. Was that the word you used, as discomfort?
Yeah, it's just discomfort, uncomfortable, not at
You said,
ease.
so you said uncomfortable. So what if I told you that for the next 6 months to a year in this position, it is absolutely possible for your life conditions to not change, meaning that people aren't going to just say yes as soon as you talk to them. It's always going to be, several weeks or months or maybe into the next year before they finally come around and say, okay, sign contract, boom, let's do this. What if that never changes? But I tell you that even though that never changes, it's possible for you to feel comfortable and great and wonderful every day that you go into your job.
That would be great. And actually, what you've already sort of unearthed makes it seem like not only is it a possibility, it's going to be a reality, because I'm going to have to shift. I'm going to have to shift expectations if I'm in a new terrain. It's like if I'm going to Alaska, I'm not wearing a swimsuit. I'm taking a parka. So I just got to adjust. My efforts are going to be the same, but the ground, the field I'm playing on, I'm just going to have to adjust. That's just how it is.
You know what's exciting about this, Hillard, is I love what I'm doing. Is my effort, my energy, my time invested is going to be the same. And here's the thing, you're going to go from this is incredibly uncomfortable, this position that I'm in this company, to wow, this is going to be a reality that I'm going to experience great comfort and joy in my current position, knowing that I am the best hire they've ever made. And all that it's going to take for me to feel that every single day in my day job is I'm simply going to change what I believe about what success looks like. I'm going to
Yeah.
change my blueprint of what success in this position, in this company looks like.
Yeah. I think reframing it is going to make the huge difference, because that's not going to change, I guess, because long before I showed up, this industry had a long funnel. Just because I show up, it doesn't change for me. I gotta play the funnel, and not let the funnel play me.
Yeah. And the company didn't hire you to change the length of the funnel.
Exactly. They just wanted more opportunities in the funnel.
Yeah. And
Which they have, which I've been able to produce those for them.
That's exactly right. I can tell already just by the little hints and clues of, the deeper and broader and the breadth of your relationships, because you recognize and realize how people move and shift in there. And it's like, no, I want to get in and I want to really get to know these people. I want to really establish rapport and trust. This isn't a one and done sale. These people are going to never think about leaving us.
Yeah. because I generally like people. When I meet people, I mean, a lot of my customers to this day, we still text on the weekends. I know when their kids are graduating. They let me know when they're going on vacation and like, hey, do you want a shirt when I'm gone? So we have pretty good relationships.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. On a scale of 1 to 10, before this conversation today, how would you say you are? How successful would you say you are at meeting those criteria for the guy who hired you in this company? You said, I wanted to show him that I'm the best hire he's ever made, and all the things that you said you wanted to do for him. On a scale of 1 to 10, prior to this conversation, how well do you think you were meeting with your own expectations in that area?
On my own expectations, to give them the effort and the visibility and the impact, I would give myself at least a 9. Could I do
Okay.
more? Yeah, I could do more. But I'm intentional who I go after, and I've been able to make a little bit of waves.
Okay, and I'm going to go back to the beginning of this conversation. You said, what my boss hires me for is results.
Yes.
And prior to this conversation, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you relate? How would you have rated your results?
3.
All right. And based upon where we are now in this conversation, how would you rate your results?
A 9.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the icing on the cake is when the contracts come in and the POs. But other than that, I've met them. I've been polite. I show
Let,
up when I say I'm going to show up. So
let me challenge that for just a moment. The icing on the cake, and the way that I hear that, and tell me the when I will choose to really feel good about this is when the money comes in. Is that what I'm hearing?
that's what you're hearing.
Okay, that is your potential reality. That you will really feel good when you see the money come in. Now, if you want, you could always keep that. And that is judging the success based upon the harvest. But by the way, I'm not suggesting that when the money comes in that you not feel good about it. But what if it were possible for you to change the way you perceive what you do and see the icing on the cake as this amazing process where you are doing things other salespeople never do? What if that's the icing on the cake? What if that's where you show up every day and you work your magic? What if that's the icing of the cake where I really feel great about this hire? Yeah, it's nice when the money comes in, but what's really awesome is this entirely awesome process where I can get to be the artist in my industry, where I get to do my thing, where I get to show up and shine with my unique gifts and talents that nobody else possesses in the way that I possess them. The real icing on the cake is when I show up and do my thing.
No, I can see that because if I do my thing and that's the icing on the cake and I can rejoice in that moment, the next result is automatic. It's done from the beginning. Just about. It's like if I do this, that has to happen. So I don't need to worry about it in the sense of just keep stirring and it keeps cooking. So
And
I like it.
also think about this. Let me ask you this. This whole idea of, man, the icing on the cake is I feel when I will feel really great is when. That's the do you am I you those two statements are the same. The real icing on the cake equals when I will really feel amazing about what I do is those two statements are the same, yes?
Yes.
So the idea is I will feel really amazing when this one point in time, this one day, the purchase order comes in, boom, and then it's here and it's gone, and then I have to wait until, oh gosh, a couple more months or this or that until. Whereas you have the ability every single day, I feel the icing on the cake. This isn't about the results. I want you to have the ability to feel that amazing, awesome, the icing on the cake. The real icing on the cake is when I show up and get into the office and I make the calls and I go out and do the presentation. I'm building the relationship. I'm going broader and deeper than anyone else before. I clock in, I clock out every day. That's the icing on the cake for me. That's the real icing on the cake. All I'm proposing, you can choose to do whatever you will. You can choose to equate the icing on the cake with when the PO comes in, or with the fact that I get to do my unique gift zone of genius talent here in this place, doing exactly what I was hired to do and meeting all of the criteria of what I wanted to offer my employer.
No, I think that's actually a more powerful way to look at it, because if I look at it, the icing on the cake is every day I make the call, I show up, I do what I'm supposed to do. That enhances my energy. What I'm doing drains my energy because I'm always looking so far out, so far out. It's more of a drain and a squint on your energy, as opposed to embracing like, hey, this is in my power of control today. And what did I do? All that I could control. I can't control everything. I did what I could control. So I think that's more powerful, literally, physically energy, not just mental energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned that statement: judge the success of your day not by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant. I first picked that up from Rich Litvin, and I learned that because I'm in sales as well. Of course, we're all in sales at some level,
We all are.
but I'm very much in sales. I do, reach out to people, I connect with people, find out what's going on in their world. If I discover that they have an obstacle or a problem that they're facing, or if they feel stuck or something like that, if there's something going on in their life where my coaching, my product might be a good fit, then what I do is I bring them in and I plant a seed. Hey, I'd love to offer you a complimentary session and see what happens there. And I do my thing. And I say that I'm doing this with no strings attached, no expectation, no obligation. And I genuinely mean that, which means that I'm serving without expectation. But I know that if I plant enough seeds, some of those seeds will fall in fertile ground. Some are going to, fall in the weeds are going to come up and choke out the seed and all this other stuff. But ultimately, I know that if I show up every day and I just keep spreading seed, and I basically just out there serving, using my unique gift and talent. And if I say, hey, matter of fact, I looking at the month of September 2023. I'm looking at my financials for this month. It's lower than it normally is. Now, I could tell you all the reasons why I think all of that is. I've been sick for 3 weeks, recovering from bronchitis and all this other stuff. A lot of rest and restoration. I've prioritized all of that. So a lot of the things that I have not planted as many seeds as I normally would. Okay, but and as a result of that, there's not as much harvest coming in. But here I am. I think about this. It's like, wow, you know what? Given my current situation and circumstances of where I've been feeling in my health and my energy levels, have I shown up today and planted seeds? The answer is yes. So I came back from this Denver, Colorado trip, and I was absolutely exhausted. I had double ear infection, couldn't hear out of my right ear, and I had no energy whatsoever. But you know what I did have? Monday morning, I had an 8 a.m. live stream coaching session with somebody who was absolutely, no strings attached, no expectation, no obligation. And we got on there. I felt horrible, but I still delivered. I still showed up. I still served. And then after that 8 a.m. call, it was the only thing that was on my schedule for the day. After that 8 a.m. call, I wrapped up my day and I said, you know what? I feel like today was an incredible success. And I went and slept on the couch for the rest of the day. Why do I feel like that was an incredible success? Because I showed up and I planted a seed. I did the best I could with what I had to work with. And I got to tap into my unique gift, my unique ability. I got to meet somebody, learn a little bit about what's going on in their world, helping somebody take the way that they're experiencing life, where it's a little bit of a struggle, and just helping them change their perception of what's going on, seeing them frame it in a different way that they weren't able to see from their own perspective. And then all of a sudden say, hey, what if you look at it from this way? And then like, and their life is so much better. Now, what's going to come up from that? I have no idea. But I do know that I showed up and I planted a seed. And that's how I judge the success of that day. Even though many days when I'm super healthy, I'll plant 5, 10, 15 seeds. But that day I only planted one. That's okay. Because I judge the success by the seeds that I plant, and I judge it also based upon what I have to work with. So what my effort every day isn't the same. The time, the effort, the energy that I put into my business and my process isn't the same all the time, because oftentimes life brings up situations and circumstances. So I don't even tie myself to what does it mean. Is there a certain level of seeds that I must plant every single day? Now I have goals for those, but if a life emergency, a family death, a death in a family comes up, or there's a funeral, or what, there's all sorts of reasons why I may not show up the way in the couple of days or a week or so that I would in normal circumstances. But even in those cases, I get to determine what my blueprint is. And my blueprint today is, yes, I'm going to judge the success that I have based upon the seeds that I plant and not the harvest. But also, the seeds that I plant will be determined by doing the best I can with what I currently have to work with within my values and priorities in life. And so my blueprint, if you will, is so unique and makes it so easy for me to feel great all of the time, because my blueprint is determined by what my life conditions are. There's a lot of leeway inside of my blueprint, instead of having a rigid blueprint saying life must always be this.
So that's how you get your icing on the cake every day, is doing the best you can with what you have. That's the icing on the cake every day.
That's exactly it.
Okay. I can see that. I can see that, because if I reframe my day that way, probably when I shut it down for the day, I have a better feeling. I can relax, like, hey, I've done all I can do. But as opposed to if you always have something that
By
you
the way,
haven't. Go ahead.
little transformative language. You didn't do all that you could do. You did the best you could with what you had to work with that day.
Okay.
Because the chances are you may have been capable of doing more. You may have evidence that you have the ability to do more, but sometimes you may have had a super sugary uh, breakfast that you normally don't have, and you normally start with a lot of protein, and you get in there, and it's about 11 o'clock, 11:30, and you've got brain fog, and you're fuzzy, and your energy levels are low, and you're distracted. You'd be surprised how much your brain chemistry can change and alter. And as a result of that, you may not have done everything you could do.
But I did the best I could do with what I had that day.
Exactly. And you could
That's
evaluate hey, what did I do today? What did I accomplish? What could I have accomplished? And what was it that caused me to have the results that I had today? And with a lot of grace, with a lot of unconditional love, you evaluate and say, what could I do if I desire to have better results in the future? What kind of things could I shift? Are there any things that I could do to bring more to work with in the future?
And even just an example, something as simple as you just said, what could I do different? Maybe have more protein, not so much sugar for breakfast, to get more out of that day. Because you're right, brain fog is a real deal and food is a real deal. So, and I have had that happen before, like, wow, I cannot do this again, And of course you make the shift. Like,
who makes the shift?
I make the shift.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's and I think that takes a lot of pressure off me when I do the best I can with what I have that day, and don't judge it from my past. Judge it from the field I'm playing in right now, or those 8 hours, or that week. Is judge it what I'm doing the best I can with what I have that day, and putting unnecessary weights on myself over things I can't control.
Yeah. I want to see what comes up for you. I recently received an email from somebody who listened to a prior coaching session that I did with Scott Blair. And this friend reached out and says, Cliff, you know what I really struggle with? This whole unconditional love for myself. because there's something inside of my brain, and I'm totally paraphrasing this, but he says, I'm afraid to give myself unconditional love because without there's something that I believe that I have to give myself a lot of pressure, otherwise I won't perform.
I don't think I suffer with the self-love part because I say this all the time around my house, around all my family, and I'll say, well, you know what Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. And I'm crazy about this guy right here.
That's
And
awesome. I love that.
and but I don't think I separate the pressure either. So maybe technically I love myself with conditions and strings attached, as opposed to what you said, unconditional.
Yeah, that's the key point. The unconditional, no strings attached love for myself.
Like we do our children, you know.
Yeah.
They're yours, good or bad.
In a way, this is the only way that you and I could ever experience the reality of what Jesus taught when he said, be anxious about nothing.
Yeah.
If we're holding all sorts of strings to ourselves, it's like, listen, don't feel good about yourself because you haven't done this, this, and this, or whatever. You know, no, be anxious about nothing. Don't worry about anything.
Well, and it goes back to in the beginning of our conversation, and I don't have this exactly right when it says, Paul planted, Apollos watered, so they've done what they could do, but it's out of their hand. The increase is on it's on something else.
Yeah.
One guy watered, one guy planted, they're done. Now you just got to wait for the process, the icing on the cake to take place.
Yeah.
Or no, they did their icing. So yeah.
There you go. I love it. How are you feeling about our conversation today? Have you gotten what you needed out of it?
It's been so good. So it's just physically, I feel a little lighter. I feel like getting this sort of off my chest because you don't want to, for lack of a better word,
who doesn't want?
I don't want to dump on people. I don't want to dump. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's a good feeling. It's sort of a cleansing. It feels good. And when I laid it out, then you gave me your interpretation. Then I was able to receive that interpretation. It sort of made more sense. So
that's awesome.
I appreciate that.
Wonderful. Let me ask you, what are one or two actions that you know that you're going to take after you leave this call today? Knowing that there's more you could do, more insights that you could get out of this afterwards, you can watch the replay or whatever. But what's one or two things that you already know that you're going to do as a result of our conversation today?
This is gonna sound weird, but when I'm doing my job, my expectations will shift as opposed to I'm going to do the best I can with what I have, and I'm going to not make that situation more or less than it is. I'm just going to let it be what it is in that moment and not put tomorrow's expectations on it. I'm just going to try to when I walk out, I'm leaving it on the table as opposed to carrying it and worrying. Even when I'm in my next meeting, worrying about that meeting, I think that's been a big energy drain. So I think being able to lay it down when it's time to lay it down and just go to the next project.
I love that.
Yeah, I think that's been a big deal. Is I'm linking everything to everything else, and some things just stand on their own, and I let it stand on their own as opposed to dragging that ball and chain of expectations all with me all through the day. And because after talking to you, it's like, no, you've done all you could do. I've done all I could do with all that I have to do with. So I can leave it and rest in that. That's one big thing I'm going to do is like when I shut it down for the day, I'm shutting it down for the day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to re-energize.
I love that. Can I suggest a potential exercise for you to consider?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would encourage you to take a document, create a document, and at the top of it, it's going to be titled "Success in My Current Role." And then I would encourage you to create a bullet point list of all of the things that actually define what success is for you in your current role.
I'll definitely do that. I
And
can see the
write.
benefits already.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it just starts clicking like, oh, that's great. That's great.
Yep. So create that, and my recommendation is make sure that every single bullet point on this list, make sure that those things do not contain things that are outside of your control.
That's huge.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you'll find it's like, wow, this is an incredibly powerful way to see success. And you'll find that if you use this as your definition of success in your current role, and you've written the rules of the game, and this is your blueprint for success in business, all of a sudden you'll recognize that life conditions can never change your feelings of success in your business.
Yeah, exactly. Because like one thing on the document could be, for example, if I put my definition of success is 10 calls a day. And if I make those 10, no matter what happens, that day was successful according to the plan I've laid out and what equals success for me that day. Is that what you're talking about?
It is what I'm talking about. However, there's a potential for danger in 10 calls a day equals success as a rule. Here's why. What if all of a sudden there's a global outage of the telecommunications network? I'm just making stuff up here.
I know what you're saying.
But or what if I've lost my voice? So do you see how this is why this is such an incredibly powerful exercise? In fact, it's one that once you actually create this document, you might want to review it with somebody such as myself or somebody who knows what to look for in this scenario here, because it is possible for you to write a blueprint and a bullet point that will actually take all life circumstances out of the equation. You will feel successful every day in your role, in this position, every single day, regardless of the life conditions.
Okay. Now that's going to change how I write it up now, because I was going bullet point on actions that I know, but like you just said, hey, I go to lunch and have a bad lunch, I get food poisoning. Well, I'm not making 10 calls that day. I'm probably going to the ER.
That's exactly right. Which probably would be that would be a more successful way to approach your life, and increases the likelihood of continued success in your role if you went to the hospital instead of making 10 calls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's so. Yeah, I was already off frame when I heard it. I heard the action equals success, or
I know. It's a habit.
It is a habit.
Yep.
Habit thinking. Yeah.
But so for me, let me just give you my thoughts when I think about this, because my old blueprint would have been, do 8 complimentary 90-minute one-on-one coaching sessions every single week. Connect with at least 10 to 20 people who might potentially be a good fit for my coaching, and invite at least 3 to 5 people every week into a complimentary session. This is my old blueprint, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas my current blueprint for success, and I'm just spitballing this off the top of my head, so it's been a while since I've done this, but I'm just going to share with you, in this case, success in my business or success in landing people as clients would be including the following. Number 1, show up every day and do the best I can with what I have to work with. Bullet point number 1. All right. Number 2, be impeccable with my word. Speak the truth, speak truth. Stay in alignment with my values. Be honest with everyone. And so those things are always within my control. The next one is, don't make assumptions. If there's a lack of clarity about what's going on, stay curious, ask lots of questions. The next one would be, don't take anything personally. If anybody judges me or criticizes me, that has nothing to do with me. It's it's their perception of the world, and it's their beliefs about how things ought to be. Has nothing to say about my own personal character. So don't take anything personally. So these, and by the way, these are coming from the book, The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's be impeccable with your word. Don't make assumptions. Don't take anything personally, and always do the best you can. Those are the 4 agreements. So those are 4 agreements would be in my definition of what it means to be successful in my role of landing new clients. Now,
Okay.
The other thing is track, create realistic goals and track metrics, but be flexible in understanding that you'll always do the best you can with what you have to work with. And then take action, get results, evaluate results, and change approach as often as necessary. That would be something. So I can always take actions. And by the way, showing up today and saying, you know what, I feel incredibly awesome today. My energy levels are off the chart. I have nothing scheduled today. I could easily, do a bunch of connecting, do a bunch of inviting. I could edit this podcast episode, and I could put it out with this call to action. I know all of these things. And maybe I have 8 hours to do that, Hillard. And I don't do any of it. And then at the end of the day, what did I do? My action was I avoided doing all of the things that I could have done to get me business. All right. So number 1, action taken. So guess what? If my blueprint for success in my business is to take actions, I took actions, which was to avoid taking all the actions that would have got me more closer to landing more business stuff. But I did take action. Yes?
Yes.
All right. So how could I actually see that as being successful? Well, because now I've taken actions and now I'm going to get results. And the results that I'm going to get is a bunch of blocked out coaching sessions on my calendar with nobody to coach, which, by the way, leads to other results, which means that those are coaching sessions where I'm not going to be able to invite somebody to a second complimentary session. That means that I'm going to get the results of not having anybody to propose to. That's going to be the result of having less income. So I'm going to take the actions. I'm going to get results. Results come no matter what. All right. So that's going to happen. So I'm always going to take action. I'm always going to get results. Next, I'm going to evaluate the results. Wow, I don't like the fact that I don't have people to coach. I don't like the fact that I don't have people to propose to. I don't like the fact that there's no money coming in as a result of that day that I didn't do anything. Or actually, I did something that day that I chose to do everything else under the sun other than what I knew that I could have done. So I took actions. I got results. I'm evaluating the results. And I'm saying, hey, in my evaluation, do I like what the results that I got? No, I don't. Okay. Well, what do I want to do about it? I will change my approach. You know what? Next time I'm going to do this, this, this. Now, do you see how that makes me still feel like a success? It's like, listen, there are days when I come in and quite frankly, I could have done a ton, but I instead chose to do something else. And I could feel guilty about it, ashamed about it. I could feel like miserable. Woe is me. I must have lost my thing, lack of confidence, all this other stuff. But one of the things that will make me a success and could be on my blueprint, another bullet point, is always extend myself grace, understanding, and unconditional love. No judgment. Just understand and appreciate, why am I doing what I'm doing? Because I have learned enough for myself that there is a psychological reason why I choose to do anything that I do. And it's an opportunity to say, why did I do that? What would I have to believe for me to have 8 hours completely open to do anything and everything that I want to do in my business? I know the things to do, but instead, even though I had perfect energy, perfect mental focus, I had 8 hours to do a bunch of things, but I did nothing that day. What would I have to believe that would cause that result? Because there has to be a belief that led me to put off all of those things. And this, uncovering what limiting beliefs cause me to have days like that, uncovering that limiting belief and then doing something about that belief, working to disassociate from that belief, finding an alternative empowering belief, and then getting different results. Do you see how actually by failing to do anything that day, and getting the results that I don't like and then evaluating it, but not with guilt or shame, but just a curious, why did this happen? What would I have to believe? And it uncovers this. It's like, wow, I've dealt for that for the first 50 years of my life. And it's just now become conscious that I have this belief. I'm going to do something about that. And the next time I have an 8-hour day full thing and the same kind of distractions are pulling at me, I get different results. But only if I have unconditional love and grace for myself. Beating myself up and feeling bad about it doesn't help me uncover why did that thing happen in the first place. So do you see how actually having an incredibly empowering and complex and nuanced way of seeing success in my business outside of the circumstance and all that other stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. When you put it like, and it almost goes back to that point again where we all know that action have consequences or results. And, but if you've done all you can with what you have, it happens. And if you don't do it, at least you have the knowledge. Why I didn't get the results? I didn't know. I didn't follow my values that I've already written down for my agreement with myself.
Yeah. And then just simply ask a question. Instead of judging and condemning and criticizing, get curious.
Yeah.
Try to
Yeah.
understand and
Curious is better
appreciate.
than judgment.
Yep.
Yeah. Curious
Hey,
is better than
why?
judgment.
A great question. What would I have to believe for me to have done that? That's an incredibly powerful question. What would I have to believe to do that?
Yeah. I guess you, you would have to believe, but you said by giving yourself grace
Yeah.
or what, or for the results, you would have to believe number one, you're worth it. Number one day doesn't tell who you are. One day is one day. 1 hour is 1 hour. So you don't make a lifetime sentence on a small sin. Like I tell my friends, when I make a mistake for myself, I go, I don't give myself a life sentence for jaywalking.
Yeah.
It's a misdemeanor. I messed up. I jaywalked. I'm not getting a life sentence for that. And that's how I sort of give myself grace. Like, did I make a mistake? Yeah. Am I going to suffer forever? No, I made a mistake. I learned from it. And I'm going to believe, hey, I know where not to jaywalk again.
Yeah. I love that. And have you ever read the book, The Four Agreements, before?
No, I have not. I've had it in my Amazon cart for a while. I keep a lot of books floating in there all the time. So
It's a great book. The audio book, by the way, at 1x, just normal speaking speed like this, is only 2.5 hours.
I'll definitely do that. I think I heard you mention that on another coaching session I listened to the other day. And I thought like, okay, I'm getting some good points from that stuff. So it's very good. Yeah.
So he talks about the fact that only accept punishment once. Stop,
Exactly right.
stop re-punishing or stop, experiencing. Stop punishing yourself over and over and over again. If you've done a crime, the consequence in and of itself was the punishment. Now just let it
Exactly.
go. So
Yeah.
Hillard,
I
this
agree.
was fun, my friend.
It's been very, very good. I appreciate it.
Wonderful. I'm excited about you going from a 3 to, what'd you say, a 9 about how you feel you are and meeting the expectations of what you wanted to give to your client or your employer when it comes to results in your business. And it all just comes from really reevaluating. It's like, wait a second, I'm still operating on a blueprint of what success looks like and what results look like based upon an old rule. My employer is actually happy, but here I am
Yeah.
suffering, and
Exactly
putting an
right.
end to the suffering is great. The other thing that is really exciting to me is the idea of the fact that when you start seeing, when each time one of these contracts roll in and the PO comes in, that will not be the icing on the cake. It will be something you celebrate, but it will be about the same that you celebrate all of the seeds that you're planting or all the other things that you're doing, just showing up and being. And I'm really excited about the potential for you to show up every day with great comfort, with great love and passion, and the icing of the cake every single day as far as an emotional state with the work that you do. That's what I'm really excited about for you.
Yeah, I think that's so far that's been one of the big takeaways. I can already in my head and as I was scribbling over here to my left, is that's a big one. because I said what I wanted to accomplish when I went there. And, I want to be the best hire, most impact. And you go, but you're doing those things. So you are successful. So I can't give myself a success list, then hit it and still be unhappy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, hey, I wanted this. I got this. Yeah, but that's not what I wanted. Like, well, that's what you said. You shall have what you say.
I want that icing on the cake, and it's just that far down the road.
Yeah, and it's not. It's right here in front of me. So, yeah.
I love it. Hillard, thank you so much for this opportunity. Is there anything that you want to plug or say for anybody that's watching? Anything that you've got going on?
Actually, right now, I'm pretty good. I appreciate that opportunity. But no, this has been a great session. Hopefully, other people will see and they'll gain something. I was hoping my intention when I come here today was be as open as possible to receive as much as possible, and hoping something I said would resonate with someone else, or maybe they'll contact you, because this has been a very, very beneficial and very eye-opening for me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. Hang out for just a little bit. I'm going to drop down here. I'm going to drop you off of the screen for just a little bit, but we'll, after the end of the live stream, I'll bring you back and you and I have a little personal chat, okay?
Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Hillard. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to this live stream coaching session. This is the final one that I currently have on my coaching schedule. As you may have heard through our dialogue today, I'm getting over a little bit of bronchitis. I'm feeling a lot better today, required a lot less cough drops than I have in previous sessions this month. I am looking for some more volunteers. If you would like to volunteer, have a complimentary, no strings attached, my gift to you, one-on-one 90-minute coaching session here with me, volunteering to do this live stream recorded with potential use in a podcast episode. I promise you this, if you are listening to my voice right now, chances are you're doing so because you got value out of this conversation. You got your own insights. You begin to start processing what was talked about today with what you're dealing with. You've already began to see some significant shifts in your own life. What if I told you that because you came onto a live stream coaching session, you could allow other people to experience, by watching your coaching session, what you've just experienced watching Hillard today? All right, so if you are interested in a complimentary, no strings attached, no expectation, no obligation, you'll ever become a paid coaching client of mine, email me today, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. And by the way, one other final thing I want to just say here, if you are full-time self-employed business owner, and you sometimes feel like you're all alone in your business efforts, one of the things on the entrepreneurial journey, it can be a roller coaster. The highs are incredibly high. The lows can be incredibly low. Sometimes you may be faced with a significant shift in how things are going, and the trend of what's always worked for you in your business may not be working as much today as it once was. Sometimes you have all sorts of decisions to face, and who do you turn to give you insightful advice? People who understand the kind of risks that you face as a business owner every single day. What if I told you that there's an environment where you can turn to, where you can be surrounded by a group of people who are full-time self-employed business owners just like you, where every single member of the group is committed to your success, where they're going to bring all of their education, whether that's been their degrees that they've gotten from college, or I think most importantly, the school of hard knocks, the books that they've read, the courses that they've taken, the lessons they've learned from all of their experience in their business, all of their skills, talents, and abilities, everything, bringing everything they have to be of service to you on a consistent, ongoing basis. Talking about getting feedback on your ideas. You put about 6 or 7 people together on a problem where you are stuck and you can't figure out the solution to. Put 7 people in a room together, you'd be shocked at how many possible solutions will come out. It is the power of what's called the mastermind, where 2 or more are gathered together, anything is possible. If you are interested in surrounding yourself with people who believe in you and want to help you succeed in your business endeavors, if you're out there and you're dreaming big dreams and you'd like to actually have a support group that's going to be there and have your back all the way, every step of the way in your business endeavor, consider the Next Level Mastermind. If you want more information about this, the Next Level Mastermind group is accepting 2 new members this month. If you are interested, email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com. Put mastermind group in the email subject line. Until next time, my friends, I encourage you to take everything you do. And I'm looking for my little button here. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to go down. Here we go. I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level. Bye-bye.